Good evening, everybody. So good to see so many of you here. My name is Clay Derryberry. I will be the MC this evening, and it's so good to see all of you here. I will open with the invocation, and then our chairman, Mark Cheney, will welcome you, and then we will eat. So if you would, please bow your heads. Our dear precious Father in heaven, hallowed be your great and good name. Thank you for life. Thank you for this world we can live in. We're so thankful we can live in the United States of America, and we're thankful for the freedoms we have here. We're extremely thankful for aviation that has grown so much in this country and which we all enjoy so much. We're thankful for these honorees tonight that we can induct into the Hall of Fame, and we're so very thankful that so many people came tonight. We're thankful for this food. And dear Father, we hope and pray that you'll bless it, nourishing our bodies, that you'll guide and help us tonight, and help us as we enjoy this time, and help us to always remember that our freedom is not free, and we need to stay alert all the time. Thank you so much in Christ's name, amen. And now, Mr. Mark Cheney, who is our chairman of the board.
Thank you, Clay. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 21st Annual Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame Gala and Induction Ceremony. We've got a great program for you tonight as we honor 5 great Tennesseans with 4 new Hall of Fame inductees and Tennessee's Aviation Person of the Year. I became the chairman this last May, and before I go any further, I'd like to thank and recognize our immediate past chair, Alan Howell. Alan has served on the board for almost 5 years, and he led the board through its most difficult time at the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're grateful for his leadership and the great work he did. We appreciate his continued willingness to serve on this board and support this event. Alan, thank you very much. I want to extend a special thank you to all of our sponsors, donors, and attendees, because without you and your continued financial support, we could not host this annual event nor continue our work as the official Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame and repository and archive for aviation history in Tennessee. Your support also funds scholarships, STEM projects, and other aviation education opportunities. I want to say a special thank you to some first-time attendees, Tom Carling with Falcon Dassault, this year's Tennessee Aviation Historical Society sponsor, and Patrick and Donna Sniffen with Cirrus Aircraft from Knoxville, Tennessee. Also here with us tonight are our friends from the Tennessee Aeronautics Commission, Butch and Julia West and George Huddleston. I'd like to welcome J.C. Bueller, the founder of the Indiana Aviation Hall of Fame. And a special thanks to Coca-Cola Consolidated Incorporated for their generous sponsorship. And I want to remind everyone to please participate in our silent auction over on the right side of the room. Purchases of these items help us to continue this work as well. I look forward to meeting and getting to know all of our sponsors and donors. We thank you again. I want to thank Governor Bill Lee and other elected state officials for the support of the work of the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame. Governor Lee was unable to join us tonight, but you'll find a letter from him in your program welcoming you and recognizing our inductees. There are also several state elected officials with us here tonight, and we thank you for joining us. I'd like to recognize our board of directors, so board members, please stand. And I encourage each of you to take time to meet them. Each one has a page in the program. Hope you can get to meet all of us and know us. We also have some already enshrined Hall of Fame members with us tonight, and I'd like to recognize them individually. So please stand as you're able when I call your name. John Ellington, John T. Ball Jr., Bob Wilson, Carolyn Dobbins Fair, Joe Hawkins, Reese Howell, Jennifer Baker, Bob Minter, Bill Powley, Tom Gribbs, Ken and Gail Franks, Billy Coxsue McPherson, Deborah Ball, and Benjo Welch. All right. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and we will start our program after we have dinner, so please everyone enjoy your dinner. Thank you.
Now again, Mr. Mark Cheney.
Thank you, Clay. Hope everyone's enjoying your dinner. At this time, I'm going to present our Tennessee Aviation Person of the Year. I'd like to tell you a little about him first. First of all, the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame Board of Directors established the Tennessee Aviation Person of the Year in 2011 to honor special aviation accomplishments in Tennessee during any current calendar year. We do not present the award every year, only when there is a substantial reason to do so. In fact, we last presented the award in 2019 to Mr. Doug Crewland, President and CEO of Nashville Metropolitan Airport Authority, our event sponsor this evening, to recognize his extraordinary leadership of the Nashville International Airport. Now, our Tennessee Aviation Person of the Year is a true champion. Nashville native Sam Swift won the Gold Biplane Championship race at the Reno National Championship Air Races on September 18th of 2022 in his Pitts S1 Smoking Hot. Now, a little about Sam. He has an accounting degree and is a CPA, and he worked in that field before becoming a professional pilot. He has flown 135 different types of aircraft and has just celebrated 15 years with United Airlines. He's a 737 captain and has over 16,000 hours of flight time and is a strong general aviation advocate and enthusiast. Sam is in his 20th year serving on the board of directors of the Globe Swift Museum in Athens, Tennessee. He helped start the first Experimental Aircraft Association chapter in Limerick, Ireland, and he holds a European Aviation Safety Agency private pilot's license. Sam's wife, Paula, invited him to Reno air races in 2000 before they were married. They've attended almost every year since then. In 2015, they joined a biplane race team, and in 2016 was the first year Sam raced there and has raced every year since then. It's become a family affair every September that lasts 3 full weeks. Sam, please join me on the stage for a presentation of your award. Welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you so very much.
Let's get a grip and grin here real quick. All right. Let's say a few words. Okay,
Let's just put that right there. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank the Hall of Fame for selecting me or considering me and nominating me for this honor. It's a great honor, and one I don't take lightly. I want to thank Jennifer Baker and Jonathan Wicks and the whole team at Baker's for sponsoring a table for us. Thank you all. Love you guys. And full disclosure, they're also a sponsor of mine. But I've known Jennifer a long time, and she's very dear to my heart. So thank you, Jennifer. That said, it's not just about sponsors, but my wife, Paula, as was just said, she's the one that introduced me to air racing when we first met 23 years ago. We'd barely known each other for a month, and she said, hey, I'm going to go back out to California for a 10-year high school reunion and go by the air races one day. Would you be interested in going? Again, we'd only known each other a month, so of course I said, airplanes, racing, yeah, sure, absolutely. But she said I'd have to meet her family, and I said I could have a good conversation with a tree stump, so that wouldn't be any problem. Also in my family, my son Bradley, the race car driver, he's always given me racing pointers, so usually those correlate pretty well to the air racing. So thank you, Bradley, for all the advice, making sure I keep my line in the right position, and also to my sponsors, many of which are here, teammates that I have, team members that are here as well. And thank you so much for supporting me, supporting our team, supporting our family in the endeavor we have there for racing for the national championship at Reno. We've been racing at Reno for 7 years, and we've been fortunate to race in the gold class. We've been fast enough every year. This year we changed up strategies and kind of surprised everybody with a different airplane. And we were fast enough to win every race we ran, qualified number one, won every heat, and won the final gold. That's the baby there, November 1-1 Papa Juliet. She's a fast machine, runs about 235 on the straights, fast for her pits. Clipped wings, a lot of compression, a lot of RPM, and it's a lot of fun to fly, especially when you get there and they give you a packet of information that says you can violate 34 FARs. That's one of my favorite pictures there because it captures what Reno is about. You've got the blue and white, the home pylon. You've got the airplane there, and our two primary title sponsors, Still and Oris. They've treated us really well. But that would be Paula in her primary race position before the start of every race. She's always there. You can have 3 crew members out on the line before you start a race, and she is always there. And then we rotate out our crew, 1 on each wing. But my wife is always the last one I say goodbye to before the 2-minute countdown, and they evacuate the crew off the runway prior to the green flag dropping. That was our final position, and we had 8, and 1 got dropped out, and first place. But my little history on myself, I'm a native Tennessean, born and raised here, born in Carthage, Smith County boy. Never lived there. That was all my mom's side of the family. My dad was a state trooper, and so we went to wherever he was based at the time, which pretty much was Nashville. So I've always grown up in Nashville, but I learned to fly in Murfreesboro, not through MTSU, just through through Murfreesboro. But as they said earlier, I went through the accounting path thinking that was going to be the right choice for me. It wasn't. The airplanes were calling me too dearly, so I would sit around in a boardroom banging on a 10-key calculator, dreaming about flying, and I never went flying, dreaming about accounting. So that made my choice pretty easy. But my dad, he recognized very early that as a kid, my passion was in aviation. I had no pilots in my family whatsoever. But as a pretty high-ranking state trooper, he got flown around a lot in the state helicopters. And I didn't know at the time, but obviously I do now and have for many years, that I was in the presence of greatness with Hall of Famer Lieutenant Mike Dover, retired. He would let me ride. He eventually put the dual controls in the helicopter, and he would let me wiggle the sticks. And I learned to follow a Loran course in that helicopter. And that really cemented my passion for aviation. But a lot of Hall of Famers that I didn't know were going to be Hall of Famers were influences in my life growing up and still in recent times. But I did my private pilot certificate in '92, so next month will be 30 years when I took my check ride, and I took it with Hall of Famer Bill Barton. I'm not sure if Bill's here tonight, but what a wonderful man, and he did almost all of my check rides. He was a great influence. I learned a lot from him and how to treat others, how to treat students. And I sent many of my students to Bill over the years. My instrument instructor, who's here tonight, Tom Davis, he also did my CFI rating, and he was insistent upon me doing my flight instructor check ride with Miss Evelyn Bryan Johnson, Hall of Famer. She was a wonderful lady. If any of you did get a chance to meet her, she fell asleep during my oral. And I kept right on talking, and she would kind of come back up, and she's like, yep. We went up and did the flight, and we were in an old Mooney, 6979 Victor, and the electric flaps on it failed. And I said, Miss Johnson, the flaps are not working. She said, well, what you gonna do now? So made a big wide pattern, came in, landed no flaps, and eventually I passed it. Through the years, once I was 18, I started flying out of Lebanon, which I've always kind of considered my home airport. Many of my Lebanon friends are here tonight. Thank you all. And I met John and Deborah Baugh pretty early on. I wouldn't say 30 years ago, but it wasn't far off from that. Both of them Hall of Famers, and I appreciate their mentorship. I think they're not here tonight. But not long after that, I got involved in the Swift community, flying the Globe Swift. My name's Swift, so it's only fitting, right? I only wanted to fly it because it had my last name, and after I started flying it, turned out I really liked the airplane. We just sold ours that we've had for 22 years. But along that process, I met Hall of Famer Jerry Kirby. He's been a great mentor all these years, and the Swift Museum I became very passionate about, and this year is my 20th year on the board of directors helping them. I'm the finance committee chairman, and I wrote their training and checkout manuals for the airplane, as I've done a few checkouts for them over the years. And Charlie Nelson, Hall of Famer, he's not here tonight as well since he's passed on many years ago, but he was a wonderful, wonderful man, and learned a whole lot from Charlie. My friend Gary Coonan at the table, he treated me to a glider add-on. Who do you think did the training for that? Hall of Famer Sarah Arnold. Never knew all these times, all these people would have influence on me and my aviation career, but I've been very blessed and very fortunate to have them in my life in some way and have some influence on how I fly or how I teach others to fly. And then I'm very thankful for how that brought me into the air racing world with my wife and family. Almost all of my sponsors are Tennessee-based sponsors. We love Tennessee, and we love to promote and push our Tennessee roots here. But I won't keep your time anymore, but I appreciate this honor greatly, and thank you all so very much. It means a lot.
Congratulations, Sam. Thank you. So this evening's sponsor, as I said earlier, is the Nashville Metropolitan Airport Authority. Doug Krulin is the president and CEO of Nashville Metropolitan Airport Authority, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. He joined the Nashville Metropolitan Airport Authority in 2012. He was the chief operating officer for Nashville and John C. Toone airports, responsible for operations, facilities, maintenance, public safety, development, and engineering departments. Prior to that, Doug was the director of operations for the Huntsville International Airport and received the FAA Southern Region Airport Mark of Distinction Award and the FAA Southern Region, and the FAA Air Carrier Airport Safety Award. Krulin served 27 years in the United States Air Force, earning the rank of colonel. He served in multiple high-level leadership roles domestically and around the world, with responsibility for thousands of civilian and military personnel. Doug has extensive flight experience in rotary wing and fixed wing aircraft with over 4,500 hours of flight time. He is a decorated veteran. He received the Bronze Star, the Legion of Merit Defense Superior Service Medal, the Air Medal, and Meritorious Service Medal. He is an accredited airport executive, a graduate of the National War College. He holds a bachelor's degree from Auburn University and a master's degree from Troy University. The Nashville Business Journal named Doug the 2022 Nashville's Most Admired CEO. He's going to share with you the great things that are happening at the Nashville International Airport that have been accomplished through his great leadership. Please join me in welcoming Doug Krulin.
Good evening. A distinct honor to be here this evening to talk a little bit about the Metropolitan Nashville Airport Authority. I wasn't going to bring up Auburn, but if you want to coach our football team, we're still looking for a coach. And it's a tough act to follow when you're following somebody that just won an award at the air races there. So congratulations to Sam Swift and his team, and to the honorees that are here tonight. We have two airports that Metropolitan Nashville Airport Authority is responsible for, John C. Toon and the Nashville International Airport, but more importantly, the significance of this event and the Hall of Famers are what goes on the next slide, is the impact. You don't get to be an aviator without most likely having a runway to take off of. And so we're very proud to be a sponsor, and we're very proud to be one of the 78 airports in the state of Tennessee. There has been a lot of work between the Tennessee Air Carriers Association and the Tennessee Aviation Association over the last 2 years to continue to build aviation in the state of Tennessee. Today, or when the last economic impact study was conducted, you can see here on the left side that the 78 airports in Tennessee generate over $20 billion of economic activity. The pilots that we're recognizing, or the aviators that we're recognizing tonight, are creating 220,000 jobs. When you look to the future, over the next 10 years, what is the 78 airports in the state of Tennessee going to generate? Almost $30 billion in economic activity, greater than 250,000 people working in the aviation career field. And we pay a lot of taxes, both at the state level and in all of the local areas. So we're really proud of that. And so we only represent 2 of those 78 airports, but I'd be glad to share with you what the heck's going on in our area of the woods. Next slide. These 5 commercial airports are real big partners with us: Chattanooga, Knoxville, Tri-Cities, and Memphis. And it's always great. This is I think my 10th Aviation Gala, to see that Governor Bill Lee had made some comments to the award winners tonight, because without his leadership in the last 2 years, we would have struggled, the 78 airports in the state of Tennessee. 2 years had been working to receive more and more state support for the development of both commercial and general aviation airports, and we're thankful. If you see any of the elected legislators or state officials, you should really thank them for what they're doing for Tennessee to keep all of our airports growing. So the 2 airports that we're responsible for, I already mentioned John C. Toon and Nashville. Next slide. So this is a picture of John C. Toon, where we're at today. We're all happy to be here today, coming out of a 2-year or so setback with the pandemic. Everybody talks about the pandemic starting around March 20th of 2020, but prior to any good pandemic, you have a good tornado. So John Toon was the recipient of that tornado, and it destroyed 91 of our aircraft. in that evening when that tornado went through. So the top picture that you see there is the southern half of the airport that was taken out within about 30 minutes. Over the last 2 years, we've spent about $38 million on the southern half to rebuild. I'm happy to say that was a real challenge for us to find the resources to do that, but even bigger so is would the aviators, would the aircraft owners come back? And so those 100 hangars are all rented. And now on the bottom of that slide, we're looking to the north side of John C. Toone. So there's 10 parcels to the north side. We have 5 hangars that are going to go in that area, and the last 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are on the street right now. 10 will be a new hangar that the Airport Authority is going to build for the city of Nashville to have their aviation, the first ever aviation department for the police helicopters that fly around the city. So John Toone is very busy, and we're excited to see that. Next one. So that's the gobbledygook going on at the Nashville International Airport. We're 5 years into a 6-year improvement program. We've spent about $1 billion of the $1.5 billion that we planned for, and we're headed to the finish line this coming September and October to open up a lot of the expansion. Everything that's in blue has already been completed. Everything in the yellow is ongoing construction. And then when you look at the 2 gray boxes that you see referencing Concourse D or Concourse A, that's the new future. So we're finishing a 6-year $1 billion program. We're about to take on another $1.5 billion program as we move forward. As we started this, why are we doing it? We're doing it to support Middle Tennessee, and I'll show you that point here. First, we think we do a really good job of forecasting at the airport, but the growth of Middle Tennessee, the success of all the counties that surround Tennessee has been the biggest challenge for us. So each year we reset, and we're not building fast enough to keep up with the demand of our great state as it continues to grow. So we're working on that. We spend a lot of time on that, and we're growing in that area as fast as we can. But no matter how fast we're growing right now, we're about 9 years behind in terms of the demand that as the Tennessee continues to grow. Next. So this is a really an important slide for us. We're called the Nashville International Airport. Well, we wouldn't be an international airport, or we wouldn't be growing like we're growing without the support of all the surrounding counties that surround Davidson County. And when you look at this chart, you basically see that of the 18 million passengers that fly through Nashville on an annual basis, only 4 million of those are coming from Davidson County right there in Nashville. The surrounding counties are very important to us, doubling what Nashville brings to that airport. And then if you look at the surrounding states, that's where Governor Lee and the state legislatures have really started watching what are the other states doing that surround Tennessee. That's why they're investing in our 78 airports, is to make us more competitive. And because we're growing and being more competitive, our costs are fairly low. And so we have about 4 million passengers coming from, the sum total of Kentucky, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama to fly out of the Nashville International Airport. And that really helps us pay the bills. Air service is what drives them, what brings them to the airport. Next slide. So we currently fly 90 to 95 destinations nonstop at the airport. And the chart on the right side of that slide basically shows you we used to be a medium hub airport, and a medium hub airport would average about 40 nonstop destinations. Now we're the 27th biggest airport in the United States. We have 95 nonstops. And if you average all of the top 30 airports together, they average about 135 nonstops. So that's why we're growing. That's why we're trying to get bigger to support the demands of Middle Tennessee for travel, both domestically and international. So on the international side of the house, we're working on, there's really top down on the left side and bottom up on the right. We lost all international service during the pandemic. As the pandemic has waned now, we got 5 airlines back from Canada that are flying nonstop service, and British Airways has been very successful. British Airways flights are over 90% full, and watching that traffic, half of the people that are on those flights are going to London or England, Ireland, and the other half are going to Central Europe. So Nashville believes in the near future we'll see a second nonstop international destination, most likely within the next 12 months to 36 months. And it's probably the big 4 for us. We already have London, so Frankfurt, Paris, Amsterdam, or Rome are the ones that we think we'll get next to. But when you get to the bottom, that's a real emphasis from the state side of the house. The governor and the state legislature wants to see how do we attract nonstop service to Asia, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But on the right side, you'll see we have United Kingdom, the 3rd biggest economic contributor to Tennessee. We've got it, given ourselves a check mark. We think we're going to get Frankfurt or Paris in the near future, and we'll be able to add a check mark by Germany. But the problem with Japan is it's just so far away. And so we're working on that. But Japan is by far the biggest contributor internationally to the economy of Tennessee. And those 200 companies are employing about 55,000 Tennesseans. So it's something that we really believe statewide that if we're able to get to Japan eventually, it'll work out. With tourism and business travel. Next slide. So that's the math problem. It's very easy. We have 4 runways at Nashville. 3 of them are 8,000 feet long. We can get easily to Europe on those 8,000 foot long runways. But to go to anything in Asia, whether it's Japan, Korea, China, we need a longer runway. And so we're designing right now which of the 3 north-south runways that we would lengthen from 8,000 feet to 12,000 feet, and that would allow us to secure nonstop service to Asia. Our board has already given us the ability to spend some money, but we're really working with the FAA to try to let us get going on the environmental side of the house. We own the property that we need to extend this runway in Nashville at an additional 4,000 feet. Next slide. And coming soon, I mentioned already what is opening soon next. On September 25th of 2023, we will open up a new international arrivals facility. Today we have 1 gate that does international service. When we open up this, we'll have 6 gates that we can handle 6 jets simultaneously, either 6 narrow body jets or 3 of the wide body jets from overseas. Next. On that same day, there's where those gates will be, but there'll be a new marketplace that will open up. Up here in the top right corner where it's talking about concessions, before the pandemic, we had 52 businesses inside the airport. All 52 of them closed because of the pandemic. And so we have built 59 new restaurants and retail spaces in the airport, and the next 30 are already in construction, and they open up in that same September time period. So the hope is if you decide to fly out of the Nashville airport, come early and park, but you'll be able to shop and dine before you depart. And then this is our first public-private partnership where we are not experts in hotels, but we wanted a hotel for our customers, especially those 4 million passengers that are driving from out of state to fly out of the airport. So we partnered with a company out of Franklin, Tennessee, Chartwell Hospitality. We're paying for the garage, they're paying for the hotel, and we think that'll be a nice amenity for our passengers going forward. Next one. And then this is the last, this is the next 6-year project that we're starting in design right now. In order to get to that 135 destinations, we need more gates. In September, we'll be at 54 gates, and this gives us the ability to get to 69 gates in the future. Today, we're going to At the end of this fiscal year, go just over 20 million passengers going through the airport, about 70,000 people a day. But we're building it to have 30 million passengers going through on an annual basis. Next one. And then this is the last bit of advice. If you travel through the airport and you vacuum seal marijuana, we have really smart dogs. So don't do that. If you want to get high on aviation, just talk to any of these instructors and learn how to fly. Our dogs are looking for this kind of stuff. This is a sort of normal occurrence for us. The folks from California and Washington like to fly stuff into Nashville, and so we greet them with our dogs. But if there's anything we can do for you at the airport, please look me up during our break. But thank you for this opportunity. Congratulations to Sam and all of the rest of these honorees. It's a pleasure to be here.
At this time, we will have the presentation of the colors by cadets from McGavock High School ROTC cadets. Give these cadets a really big hand. And you may be seated. Because I fly, I laugh more than other people. I look up and see more than they. I know how the clouds feel, what it's like to have the blue in my lap, to look down on birds, to feel freedom in a thing called the stick. Who but I can slice between God's billowed legs and feel them laugh and crash with his step? Who else has seen the unclimbed peaks, the rainbow's secret, the real reason birds sing? Because I fly, I envy no one on earth. Welcome to the induction ceremony, and we hope that you enjoy what we have here in honoring these very valuable and deserving people. We will begin with Richard A. Blevins, and how this is going to work. I will read their bio, and then I'll ask each one to come up. One will be different through the program, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I'm going to read Richard's bio, and then I'll ask him and his wife, Jody, to come up, and she'll be able to install the medallion on him, and we'll give him the plaque, and then he'll say a few words. Following 27 years of service in the U.S. Air Force and 9 years at Bell Helicopter in Piney Flats, Tennessee, Richard Blevins has built an impressive offering of higher learning aviation career programs at Northeast State Community College in the Tri-Cities area. His efforts include writing and instructing more than 30 courses of study, earning college level and FAA accreditation and certifications. Richard worked tirelessly to establish the aviation programs at NESCC. With his amazing tenacity and energy and unique understanding of the complexities of setting up curricula, obtaining the required approvals in higher education, and with the Federal Aviation Administration. NESCC is believed to be the only current community college level FAA Part 147 aircraft maintenance technology training program in Tennessee. An avionics program will be added in the fall of 2022. The aviation technology programs moved to a hangar and state-of-the-art teaching facility with access at Tri-Cities Airport in October 2021. For 43 years of extraordinary and exemplary leadership in aviation and aerospace, for sharing your knowledge, energy, talent, and tenacious work ethic to establish aviation higher learning programs in Northeast Tennessee, and for your service to our country, to Tennessee and the world. Richard A. Blevins is honored by and inducted into the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame this 5th day of November 2022. So Richard, if you and Jody come up. Stand right here where he can get your picture. Here's the medallion. You'll regale him with it. And this is the plaque he gets to take home. And so now he will have some comments.
Thank you, Clay. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I would like to take a moment, though, just to thank the members of the board and the board of directors for the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame for putting on an astounding demonstration and show and putting all this together. I know it takes a lot. So just give a round of applause for the members and director of boards of Aviation Hall of Fame. You know, the thought of creating an aviation program really began when I was at Bell Helicopter. I was a training manager there for, they actually hired me out of the Air Force. It's time for me to retire and come back to East Tennessee, come back home. So when I did, we started a program at Bell Helicopter just to brief the community on what we had and what we needed. Well, during one of those meetings with the American Society of Equality, led by Hank Summers, we started a discussion on skilled labor, on the challenges we were having at Bell Helicopter. We had such a surge in work, we needed to hire 200 people. Well, you know today, A&P mechanics just don't exist. We have a huge gap. So what we had to do is take a look and start talking about what could we do to fill that gap of those A&P mechanics that we didn't have. So as we discussed this issue, Hank and I and a few others started conversations with Northeast State Community College. But before I go down and talk to you about Northeast State Community College, what I'd like to do is just indulge me just for a moment. And what I want to do is recognize Hank Summers as a stalwart supporter and advocate for the aviation program. Hank has been instrumental in promoting aviation in our communities, our schools, and industry. Hank, would you please rise so we can recognize you for all the efforts you have done in aviation? And also, by the way, thank you for the nomination. I appreciate that. That was Hank, by the way. So as we started discussions with the senior leadership at Northeast State, one thing led to another. And we started an aviation certificate program in 2015. In 2017, we elevated that to an associate's degree. Well, as we started wanting to develop a Part 147 program, it takes a lot of money, a significant investment, and a lot of time and resources to make that happen. I'm sure all of you out here who established a 147, a 145, a 135 operation, you know how difficult that is. It's very time-consuming and requires numerous resources. Fortunately, though, in 2019, our grant department was able to secure a grant from the ARC Foundation. We received a grant for $1.6 million. Nikki Morrison, I wish she was here today, she is our director, our grant writer. So she really makes all this possible. Without the money, nothing happens, right? So Nikki, I cannot say enough about her. She is dedicated, and her professionalism really is what made this program work. The ARC grant enables us to purchase the equipment and renovate a hangar at Tri-City Airport. So we moved in the hangar in 2021. But as we led up to that, as we started these discussions, where can we place an A&P program? That's very difficult. We have to have a large area. So we were able to secure a hangar at Tri-City Airport. And I would like to take a moment, though. We have Gene Gossi, who's executive director for Tri-City Airport, Dave Jones. We also have Todd Hensley, who's the chairman of the Airport Authority Board. If you gentlemen, if you would just rise and let's recognize you for your effort in making this happen. And as you know, you can't do anything like this without a good team. No one person does this. And I was fortunate that I had the right team with us at Northeast State Community College. The talk about aviation to a non-aviation person, is that difficult? Can anybody answer that? Is that a difficult thing to do? Have you ever tried to talk to aviation, someone who doesn't know anything about aviation? Well, I went forward to Northeast State and asked them about, we want to secure this. We want to try an aviation program. Well, we had one before and it didn't work. And it did. It happened. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to have the right people in the right place. And today we have Dr. Jeff McCord, Dr. Connie Marshall, and also Dr. Donna Farrell. My team at Northeast State, and I want to recognize you because without the senior leadership, without your mentorship and your money, this wouldn't have worked. So please rise and let me recognize you. You know, our aviation team, we worked long hours, creating curriculum, preparing classrooms, equipment, and tools to ensure we had student success. Jeff Livingston was there from the beginning as our adjunct instructor. Him and I walked in our first classroom the first night, and the only thing we had was a toolbox of our own tools. That was only in 2015. And and also too, let's carry on. I just want to talk about this before I stop for a second. Alan Bowman was hired at a very critical time in the development of the A&P program. Alan was hired when I needed him the most. Without him, we would not have started this program on time. And now we just added Jeff Fines. He is our lab tech. By adding a lab tech, we are now able to increase our student size up to 24 to 26 students per class. Gentlemen, I got to get you up out of your chairs and recognize you as well. Now I would be remiss, and I'm not saying this because I have an inspection next week, but I need to recognize the FAA for what they've done with me. Without them, without their guidance and mentorship, and help me create this, again, this wouldn't have happened. David Alderman helped me through the entire process. He's out of our physical office in Nashville. He answered many phone calls and mentored me through the entire process. And trust me, I tested his patience on many occasions. I'd call him up in the morning and ask one question. He'd say, "Hi, how you doing?" Call him up at lunch. "Yes, what can I help you with?" By the time I call him at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, "Yes," that's the answer I would get. "Okay, what do you want now?" So anyway, I got to say that for David Alderman. He stuck with me on this. And without them, of course, without the FAA, we would not have the safest airspace and the safest aircraft in the world. We can't get off to them. Now let's talk to you a few minutes about our current program. We have 2 cohorts. We run 2 classes simultaneously. We start them at different times, but we have 22 students each. We start a new class every January. And I'm proud to say this coming class in January of 2023, we have 6 women starting our maintenance program. That's the first. And also, too, by the way, we are booked solid until 2025. We're looking at other ways and how we can increase our class size, maybe adding night classes, but we're going to increase our throughput and we'll try to at least about 40 to 45 people during that 5-semester period. Now, our first class of 22 students just graduated. Our first class just graduated in August. And to assist them in starting their aviation career, we created portfolios. Every portfolio had a resume from every student in my class. We had a program description and the cover letter. Well, my wife and I, we went to Oshkosh this past year. We arrived on Wednesday, and on Thursday and Friday, we met with 26 companies. By the way, we walked 20.4 miles in 2 days at Oshkosh. You ever been to AirVenture? That's really not that much. But 20.4 miles in 2 days. The responses we got were amazing. You know the critical shortage we have right now is how can we produce more A&Ps and more pilots. But the responses we got, we had companies who wanted to Zoom to our students right there on the spot to make offers from Oshkosh. The second company we met with offered to hire every student, and that was Airbus. They said, "We'll hire you right now. All 19, I will take them right now on the spot." We had 3 that wanted to stay local. 19 was willing to relocate. Our first student was hired within a week of graduation. Our first student, within 1 week of graduation, got his first job. His first job is going to pay $102,000 a year. No experience. That's what the market is looking like today. The thing I want to point out about this student, though, his wife came to me. And she explained to me what a difficult time they were having making ends meet. They were living in not in the best neighborhood, not in the best apartment. They couldn't afford it. When she came to me, though, she stated that her husband becoming an A&P has changed their lives. They now can afford a home and raise their children the way they want to by becoming an A&P. This is what we're doing with our Tennessee kids right now. Give them the career that they can really pursue and get into aviation and branch out from there. At Northeast State, we want to educate parents and inform children of all ages about aviation careers. Now, how are we doing that? We have numerous outreach programs. We've created Boy Scout and Girl Scout merit patches. They come to our hangar for the day. They go through the entire program. They learn how to run up an aircraft engine. They rivet. They do a pre-flight on an aircraft. And also we do a little classroom work on aerodynamics. At the end of the day, we have a ceremony. They're awarded their merit patch. And our last class was 2 weeks ago, and this is a semi-annual event. The Girl Scouts were taught, of course, all those items I told you about. At the end of the training, after that ceremony, I had one girl come up to me, one Girl Scout, and her mother. She is currently a sophomore in Maryville High School. And her mother came to me and said, this is the career she wants. What can we do the next 2 years of high school to help prepare her for our program? So that's another girl we have. That's another individual now we're going to be able to create a livable, great career the first day after they graduate our program. So now what can we do? Well, this past week I met with 5 high schools in our area. Those 5 high schools have over 10,000 students. What we're looking at doing is installing and integrating the general portion of airframe and power plant into the 11th and 12th grades. So all 5 high schools are on board to do this. All 5 high schools will work as a satellite location off of our Part 147 Air Agency Certificate. So we'll still be responsible for their instructors, the curriculum, all aspects of that training, but 11th and 12th, that complete 6 academic classes, which would be their associate degree requirements, that complete the general certificate, which is 1 complete semester of college. They will come to us for 1 year. 1 year out of high school, they'll have their associate's degree and their A&P. In 1 year, they can go out and have a 6-figure job without any debt. And what was amazing when we went to Oshkosh, these companies, when we talked to them, said, this is what we're offering. They were very interested. We want all your mechanics. Because we know right now we're what, about 126,000 short over the next 10 to 14 years? But as soon as they took the mechanics, you know what they said? How many pilots do you have? So we need to have a flight training program at Northeast State. I'm just saying. But you can see the shortage we have today, but honestly, too, the United States is in very critical shape right now. You see the growth we're having in Tennessee, how we're expanding these airports, putting $6 billion into these airports. Well, how are we going to fix the aircraft if we don't have mechanics? What we're going to do is our part at Northeast State. If we can do this, we'll be able to produce at least 60 A&P mechanics each and every year. Each year we can produce 60. Now I know that the TCAT at Memphis, they do very well. They have probably about that number already. But just to think, though, if we do this, if we can do this as a 147 operation, which we have one in Morristown, one in Nashville, one in Memphis. Well, if they branched out to their area high schools, how many lives could we change? How many kids' lives in the state of Tennessee could we change by doing it this way? How many A&P mechanics can we provide? I think it would be outstanding. So that's just something to think about. I just want to throw it out there, though. If we all were to incorporate this model across the entire state, how many A&P mechanics, how many kids' lives could we change and have a great foundation, a great living form day one? In closing, I just want to thank 2 of the most important people in my life. My wife, my beautiful wife, Jody, and my lovely daughter, Meg, for supporting me throughout my military career, Bell helicopter career, and now at Northeast State. I promise someday I'll quit. I promise. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And you'll need to sit right there, and this right here
I'll take that.
is yours.
Thank you.
And this is yours.
Thank you.
All right. Next is R.A. Bob Huddleston. Bob Huddleston was born and raised in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, attended city schools, and learned to fly at Middle Tennessee State Teachers College, now MTSU, when the airport was located on campus. His instructor was Mr. H. Miller Lanier, who owned University Flight School. Bob became a flight instructor where he served and worked for the MTSC Flight School. Bob served in the Civil Air Patrol and later joined the Tennessee Air National Guard, where he was subsequently assigned for active duty based in Knoxville. Bob purchased a BT-13 aircraft to use for frequent trips back to Murfreesboro. The loud engine/prop on that BT-13 could be heard for miles away, earning him blame for disturbing Sunday morning church services. The Murfreesboro Municipal Airport was soon built, and Bob Huddleston was the first to land an aircraft at the brand new airport. After completing his Air Guard duty, Bob relocated to Fort Worth, Texas for additional flight training. He became a Central Airlines DC-3 captain and ultimately logged over 10,000 hours in that venerable aircraft. He then flew the Convair 580 and 600 aircraft. When his career culminated, he was a Boeing 737 captain with Frontier Airlines. Bob Huddleston retired with more than 30,000 hours of accident-free flight time. At the conclusion of his career, Bob and Virginia returned to Murfreesboro for their well-deserved retirement. For his early service to what has become Tennessee's premier university for aviation education, his service to CAP, our state, and our country, and a stellar career as a professional pilot, Captain R.A. Bob Huddleston is enshrined in the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame on this 5th day of November 2022. So Bob, if you and Virginia would come up. Virginia, if you'll stand right here. Bob, if you'll stand right here and face the guy with the camera there. And if you'll take this, please, ma'am, and drape that around his neck. Very good.
I'm going to try to read this because when you get old as I am, you forget a lot of it. So, I would like to thank the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame Nomination Committee for nominating me in the selection of this Hall of Fame. In addition, I would extend my heartfelt appreciation to Bob Mentor, the founder, Mark Cheney, the chairman of the board of directors, and Clay Derryberry, the master of ceremonies, for the time they spent in investing in keeping the association healthy and advancing. A big thank you to John Ellington, who spent countless hours to make this wonderful evening possible to me. There are so many people who have contributed to my love of aviation and my aviation career through the years. I began my life in aviation at the young age of 12, almost 80 years ago. I lived 2 blocks from the Middle Tennessee State Teachers College Airport, where the college pilot training program was started in 1940. I spent a lot of time at the airport, and the instructors would take me up and let me flang around with a stick. When the program ended, Miller Lanier, being a college pilot training instructor himself, started the Mid-State Flight School at the college airport in 1946. And I soon became a student of Miller's. Under Miller's training, I earned a private commercial and flight instructor's rating. And I worked for him for about 4 years and was the first full-time chief flight instructor at Middle Tennessee State Teachers College, which later became the premier training facility in the Southeast. Currently, MTSU Aerospace Department has 1,278 students enrolled, in which 897 are professional pilot students. I later went to work for Southern Air, which was a fixed-base operator in Bear Field and a Cessna dealer, where I trained pilots and demonstrated airplanes. Following that, I went to Fort Worth, Texas, and in 1955 to American Flyers to get my instrument rating. That same year, I was hired by Central Airlines in 1940 and as a commercial pilot. And later merged with Frontier Airlines, where I retired in '86. Let's see here. Over the years, I got to fly many different aircraft, from a 37-horse Aeronca C-2 to a massive DC-8, and the last aircraft I was rated in was a Boeing 737. During the many years as a pilot, I had the opportunity and take part in numerous firsts. I was the first student from Middle Tennessee Teachers College to become an airline pilot. I was the first pilot to land at the new Murfreesboro Municipal Airport in 1952. I was the captain of the first Frontier Airlines flight into Memphis in 1968. I flew the first scheduled commercial flight out of the new Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Airport in 1973. Along with flying, I held membership in the CAA, CAP, CAF, and EAA, and served on the board of directors of the Airline Pilots Association. Early in my airline career, I came back to Murfreesboro and married Virginia Burns Sanders, and as of next month, we will have been married 66 years. We have 2 children, our son Bobby, who started racing cars at 4, and he raced in multiple championships, driving several classes of single-seat, open-wheel race cars throughout the U.S. during his driving career. Our daughter Jenny is a registered nurse with a master's degree in critical care and trauma nursing and a PhD in immunology. She has written a textbook and multiple journal articles. I would like to add both are married well and given us 4 beautiful grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. They all chip off the old block. Murfreesboro, crazy. Pilots are not known to be humble, but my induction into the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame has humbled me greatly, and I would again like to thank those who made this honor possible, from family and friends and colleagues through the years, and especially the board of directors of the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame, who extended this high honor to me, a truly monumentous occasion for me and my family. Thank you. Where you want me?
You can sit right next to him. The next inductee is Leo Loudenslager, and we're going to let Jerry Kirby introduce him and handle the induction with Mr. Loudenslager's family.
This is certainly an honor and a pleasure. I want to thank Bob Minter, the airport board, and a gentleman that probably no one knows, Bob, some people call him Bigfoot, for helping us to nominate Leo for this prestigious award. You know, I learned years ago that we have many families. We have a biological family, we have a church family, we have a work family, and we have an aviation family. Aviation to me is a vehicle for friendships. I would not know many of you in this room if it were not for aviation. Bob Minter asked me to say a couple of things about Leo that with the experiences I had with him over the years. I had the pleasure of performing with him and holding the inverted, as he made the ribbon pass in many air shows. And May I see a show of hands who other people in the audience who held the ribbon as he made the inverted ribbon? There's Kirby Toddy, his mechanic, Susan, and the others. How many people got to prop Leo's high-performance airplane? May I see a show of hands? One of the top 3 most dangerous things I've ever done. Leo was quite a showman, and I was asked to say a couple other things about him. There's no one I would feel comfortable with flying that close to me, 15 to 20 feet, as he made this inverted pass down the runway, and many times there was a crosswind. That meant that he was at an angle coming at you. Leo was fortunate to let me crew with him in Nashville, Oshkosh, and Canada. Many years ago, I was with Leo in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, at the Warbird Show. I was riding out to the air show with Leo. A young man on a bicycle darted in front of him. He said, "I need to talk to this young man." So Leo stopped the car, put the young man's bicycle in the trunk of the car. This young man was his first air show he was ever going to attend. He was a young teenager. Leo pulled into the entrance, paid his admission, unloaded the man's bicycle, the young kid's bike, out of the car. Leo had on his red jumpsuit with USA, large letters on the back. Young man never knew who Leo was. That just showed you the kind of man that I knew in Leo. Leo was an ultimate professional pilot, both as an American Airlines captain and one of the most accomplished aerobatic pilots in the world. He watched Bob Hoover and Dwayne Cole perform aerobatics in 1964 at the Reno Air Show. Those men inspired him as his heroes. He soon obtained his license and ratings and became employed with American Airlines in 1966 at the age of 22. He was always dedicated to instilling enthusiasm, safe practices, showmanship, and practical skills. The legendary Bob Hoover once said, "I've seen a lot of aerobatic pilots fly. Leo is certainly the best." Leo designed, along with Kirby Toddy, to build his monoplane, which was one of the first aerobatic airplanes that you see. Now, at that period of time, most people were flying biplanes and so forth. Leo built this monoplane. He won the world championship, one of only 2 people to win the world championships. And he flew in the U.S. championships, and he won it in 1976 on up to 1981. Tom Proberenzi wants to call him a dynamic and creative pilot and one of the most focused, dedicated, hardworking individuals that I've ever met. Leo was a recipient of prestigious Victor Award for his outstanding contribution to sports and held many other Halls of Fame awards. He also earned the International Council of Air Show Sword of Excellence, the Bill Barber Award, the Art Show Showmanship Award. Since 2003, Leo's airplane, the Laser 200, has been on display at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Leo died tragically in 1997 as a result of injuries sustained in a motorcycle accident near his home in Thompson Station. For his extraordinary national and world aerobatic achievements, it is my honor to announce Leo Loudenslager to be inducted into the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame this 5th day of November 2022. At this time, Leo's daughters and Susan are here tonight. Susan, would you come up along with your daughters, Carolyn and Kelly? Okay.
to say just a few words about my dad. First of all, he would say thank you to you all for this honor. Thank you to Jerry and to Bigfoot, wherever Bigfoot is, for the nomination. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to tell you about who my dad was. Many of you in this room didn't know him, but I wanted to tell you who he was for his friends and for his family. My dad was a man of intense focus. When he was 17, he asked his dad if he could enlist in the U.S. Air Force, and he did. His highest ambition was to become an aircraft mechanic. When he achieved that ambition, he decided he wanted to learn to fly. The Air Force wasn't going to teach him. He was enlisted, he was not commissioned, he didn't have a college degree. And so he took a second job. He took the graveyard shift at a local filling station so that he could earn the extra money to take lessons at the local FBO to become a pilot. And he did. And he credited a dear friend and fellow airman for getting him up every morning for his day job so that he could go right back at night, earn the money to get his pilot's license. And in a short period of time, he got his commercial license, his flight instructor's license, and his instrument license, mainly through self-study. Dad was a builder. Although he was an aircraft mechanic, he'd never built an airframe. And from a set of plans, he built a Stevens Acro plane in Connecticut in an unheated garage through a cold winter. And in 1971, he rolled that aircraft out of the garage. My dad was also a self-taught engineer. He never had any formal engineering education. And after competing in the Acro in 1975, he decided it was not a sufficient aircraft for aerobatics. And in our basement in Sussex, New Jersey, he took a hacksaw to it, literally. He threw out the front half of the aircraft, and with a very small group of dedicated friends, I had to write this down because it's a lot. He went through 3 different spinners, 5 props, 3 cowlings, 3 instrument panels, 2 new wings, 2 forward fuselages, 3 turtle decks, feels like you should say in a partridge in a pear tree, 2 canopies, 2 tails, and he overhauled the engine twice. What he created changed competitive aerobatics and hangs in the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum today. My dad was also a fierce competitor. He entered the unlimited category in aerobatics after only 1 competition, which was a really fierce move for somebody who was brand new to the sport. He often would come home with bloodshot eyes as he would practice hour and hour his negative G's, trying to find that perfect vertical outside snap roll. My dad was widely recognized in sports, in a sports world that rarely gave competitive aerobatics its due. He was written about extensively in Sports Illustrated. He was featured in ABC's Wide World of Sports. He was inducted into the New Jersey Aviation Hall of Fame alongside Mercury 7 astronaut Wally Schirra. He won a Victor Award, which was a precursor to the ESPYs, alongside Wayne Gretzky, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Jack Nicklaus. He was respected by his fellow aviators, as summed up in the quote that Jerry read from Bob Hoover. But the thing I want you to know is that my dad was a pilot. He was a pilot's pilot. That was the thing he cared about more than anything in this world. He was happiest in the air, pushing himself and his plane to the limit. And when he saw fellow comrades fall, he rushed to defend a sport that he loved and athletes that he respected. Following a horrific crash in 1982 where 4 U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds died, he wrote this to the local media. Quote, "There's a kinship among aviators that transcends any bond known on earth. As youngsters, we've all stood together in a meadow somewhere waiting for the morning sun to burn away the fog so we could get airborne. We've shared the same golf ball-sized lump in our throat when performing that first aerobatic maneuver. Our hearts practically jumped out of our chests when we saw a fellow pilot put an aircraft through paces never before thought possible. Anger surged through our veins when someone referred to our aerial ballet in vulgar terms such as reckless or categorized it as stunt flying. and we wept when any one of our comrades fell from a sky that could be both benign and unforgiving. My dad loved aviation. I know he would have appreciated the awards here tonight, but he flew for the sheer love of flying. On his canopy were the words "beautiful obsession," and this was a beautiful obsession for him. He, like many of you, was a pilot in the deepest part of his soul. So for that, tonight, I raise a proverbial glass to all of you. Thank you for inducting him into the Hall of Fame.
Our next inductee is Mr. Aaron D. Tippin. Long before he was an internationally renowned country music songwriter and performer, Aaron Tippin was deeply engaged in aviation. He is a second-generation pilot. His father flew F-4U Corsairs in World War II and was a lifelong pilot. Aaron began flying at an early age, soloed at age 16, and obtained his private pilot license at age 17. At the age of 19, he had logged 2,500 flight hours and was a commercial pilot at age 20, flying in his father's air taxi operation. He holds an instrument rating along with commercial pilot privileges for both single and multi-engine aircraft. Tippin also holds private pilot privileges for rotorcraft helicopter and is a certified flight instructor. Aaron is also a certified airframe and power plant technician with inspection authorization. He has been checked out to fly the B-29 Fifi as well as other World War II era aircraft. Born in Pensacola, Florida, and raised in South Carolina, then lured by the music industry, Aaron became a resident of Tennessee in 1986. Since then, he has been very active in Tennessee's aviation community, owning and showing various aircraft and participating in many events. In 2020, he launched an aviation business in Sparta, Tennessee, offering a full flight school, discovery rides, and aircraft maintenance. Additionally, Aaron is a tireless supporter of U.S. veterans, and he has made numerous visits to our troops overseas. In fact, Bob Hope's final USO tour during Desert Storm was Aaron's first. He also provided his musical talent and fame on numerous occasions, providing concerts, promotional speeches, and videos for FAA safety programs and to major events at EAA Air Adventure. Sun and Fun, the 100-year aviation celebration at Kitty Hawk, and the Centennial Flight in 2003. For exemplary service and extraordinary contributions to aviation for Tennessee, our nation, and the world, Aaron D. Tippin is honored by and enshrined into the Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame on this 5th day of November, 2022. If Aaron and Tio would come up. Stand right there and you go, Thea. Drape that around his neck. Congratulations.
I don't get to boss her much. First of all, to the Hall of Fame, thank you very much. This is quite an honor. I got old friends in this room and new friends, and boy, it's cool because aviation is what it's about to me. I look at that old DC-3 on the wall over there. The first airplane I ever put my hands on the controls of was a DC-3. My dad was a captain for Stevens Beechcraft out of Greer, South Carolina. And
he took me out on a maintenance hop with him one day and finally stuffed enough books under my butt that I could actually see over the instrument panel and fly that airplane. And we left the ground, and we kept climbing and climbing, and I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 feet off the ground, and the cars on the highway started turning into the size of Hot Wheels cars. I knew this is what I was born to do. And then along came a damn guitar, and there, that went out the window. But anyway, music's been very gracious to me, and allowed the hangar to have a few horses in it that I still love and get to enjoy. But I think I'm getting the opportunity to stand here tonight because of two men in my life. That'd be my dad and my Uncle Billy. Both of them were aviators. My dad was a pilot and tried to be a mechanic. Not so much. My Uncle Billy, extraordinary A&P and IA, and a pilot. These two guys and one other brother got this wild notion from reading a book about Alaska, jumped in a Howard, and headed off from Mobile, Alabama, to become flyers in Alaska. This was before Alaska was ever a state of the United States. So Tippins and Aviation go way back. And I honor those two guys tonight, especially, because without them, this wouldn't have happened. My dad soloed me on my 16th birthday. I had the privilege of soloing my two sons on their 16th birthday. Yes, aviation is a big part of the Tippin family, which brings me to our FSDO team here. These guys have been great partners with the Tippin family in bringing about Tennessee Flying Machines, which is our kind of fixed base operation maintenance facility in Sparta, Upper Cumberland Regional Airport. And big thanks to them and allowing us the opportunity to continue aviation in the Tippin family. And I'm not going to stand up here all night because I know Rocky's got to get to bed. So anyway, thank y'all very much. This is a huge honor. I'm among heroes, and I'm thankful to be up here tonight. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Real big hand. Appreciate so much, so many of you coming tonight. We appreciate all the sponsors. This takes money to do, and we appreciate the sponsors so much. Appreciate all the folks that worked on this. There are people who just have done really grunt work, and we appreciate everybody. In closing, oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of, wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where neither lark nor even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind I've trod the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.